What do you do here? I don't exactly feel like DeJounte Murray is somebody you're trying to build a team around. So they don't exactly have the pivot, the obvious pivot of if they were to explore a trade, what do they do next?
That's the thing. I am fascinated to just see how they would handle like some of their role guys as well, because it's like they have a lot of guys that I think are theoretically good or have had good moments. Like DeAndre Hunter has had a big game in this playoffs, right? Like I think the world of Onyeka Okongwu, but it's like he's stuck behind Clint Capella. Like, what do you do with Clint Capella? What do you do with, like, are you really tied to like believing in Jalen Johnson, or is he someone you trade because you went and got Sadiq Bey as well, who has not, I think, looked particularly good in this series and like does not move laterally particularly well defensively. Like, I think you have all of these like baked in roster constructions. I wonder how serious the Trae stuff is, and I wonder what Trae is also thinking, because we had a Chris Haynes report a while ago that it's like he might consider asking for a trade beyond if the Hawks would trade him, right? So, like, you get into this position where I think it leads you to you have to start with Trae and figure that out. Is there another star you could go flip to pair him with that would make him happy? Like, I don't really know if that guy is out there. I don't even know what the ideal fit with him would be. But you already traded for Murray, so it's like has to be like, what do you do with Murray? Like, all of this is really complicated. It's also hard to be like, you should just like give up and start from step one again, because Trae is very good. And like, as much as I think he has flaws and I think there's a ceiling on him as your best player, like this is like a star player in this league, and it's hard to just like give that up. But can you take it too far and become the Wizards? I would personally just start with your role players.
They already are the Wizards.
What does Quinn Snyder think of those guys?
I mean,
it's not as bad as the Wizards because Trae Young isn't making $250 billion.
He's on a max. Like,
it just, it doesn't feel as bad to me. Maybe because I also think so highly of Quinn Snyder.
Okay, but
is that unreasonable?
I don't think he's enough to do much to fix this situation. No, I don't. I don't feel like.
So would you? Are you going trade Trae? Is that where you're at?
I would definitely explore a trade. I am curious what the market would be for that player. And honestly, a lot of it, less of it is on the court. If you told me, I think there's a bunch of coaches who around the league feel like I can get this guy's mentality to a better place. I can have him, be a little bit more willing to do the less glamorous stuff that you're seeing a point guard like Chris Paul or John Morant, who we've talked about, do for the betterment of their team. Not to mention, obviously, Steph Curry or any number of genuine off-ball stars, Jason Tatum. Right. I think that there's a lot of coaches who feel like they could do that part. And I probably think a lot of them are right. I even think Quinn Snyder might, with the full offseason and training camp and everything, be able to do that. I think that it doesn't seem like it has been a very stable, like, fulfilling place to build a basketball program in Atlanta lately.
Sure.
Right? They've gone through two coaches.
And it stems from him.
They've gone through any number of players, and all of the noise is still there. Right? And that, to me, is on him. So that's the part where I wonder what you could really get back, and if you might just be stuck with the bed that you made, right? Like, you kind of just have to go as far as the guy that you've tied yourself to is going to take you until it absolutely has run its course. And I don't think we're at its absolutely run its course point yet. They have one more year of Murray on this contract. They should sure as hell finally trade John Collins, who I think a lot of teams should want. I think he has a lot of untapped potential. I think you explore a Capella trade, and maybe you start to say, we're done being in the business of proving to Trae that we're quote-unquote committed to him. He has not earned that. So we don't need to keep the vets around. We don't need to keep adding the guys that we think he wants from a personality standpoint, or the guys that we think the best version of him is going to fit best with. Trade Bogdanovich potentially. Let the young guys start to play a bigger role. Go into next season with, I'm not saying trade all of those veterans. I'm saying see which ones get you something good. And then you go into next season with Trae and Murray still, and some different variety of the supporting cast, with the young guys playing a bigger role, and Quinn's system fully in place, And I don't think you go aggressively on Trae Young this offseason, but you start to think about what the post-Trae landscape might be and give yourself some space. If it goes awful, you look at a Trae and a Murray trade at next trade deadline and, start to think about rebuilding from there. But the problem with this team is, and the reason I said that they're kind of like Atlanta, I'm not exactly sure that they're going to be thrilled about, blowing it up. That doesn't seem to be palatable to that ownership.
No, and I would be curious to, again, they had the Travis Schlenk change this year. They changed coaches midseason this year. There's been a lot of change, and I wonder, how far do they want to push it? And if you're trading Trae, I wonder if you just say, all right, studs, let's go to the studs. Let's, keep Jalen Johnson. We'll keep Okongwu.
Griffin's good.
But Murray, someone wanted to, keep Griffin. Hey, Minnesota, do you want DeJounte Murray to play with Ant? Can you give us, at least one pick or something? Can someone, what can we get for, all these guys that would be useful? In Collins, just trade him. I think, for John Collins' sake, I hope he actually just, gets a chance to move on. But, yeah, this would be, the team, to me, that if they just felt get out ahead of it a little bit, and particularly if you want Quinn, if you trust Quinn and it seems like he has some say in the front office to just build something, then I don't think that's an unreasonable way to go. I do wonder who the Trae suitors would be.
Think? What team would you, if you're running a front office, what team would you pick to be the best one to pursue him?
Oklahoma City.
That
playing with
hurts
Trae,
me
playing with Shea.
How much I love Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
But it's imagine Shea is the cover for him and all the wings and stuff they have to support Trae. It's the right Trae infrastructure, but that also assumes that Trae is willing to do something different, and that is part of the problem with this. I don't know if Trae is willing to be something different than he has ever been. This is one of the problems.
I don't think that's what Sam Presti envisions for that team. If you just look how they built it, bringing a 6-foot point guard who doesn't play defense and hogs the ball does not feel like it would be the zen for that.
No, I agree. Yeah. I don't disagree. I just my head just without thinking about this too much. I was I could see the idea behind it. And they just have stuff. Orlando, maybe they need a point guard. They need ball creation. I don't know if you want that with your young guys and all that stuff, but I think that one can make some sense. But Utah, I don't does Utah need to do that now? Do any of these teams with lots of picks need to do it now? I think it's the Knicks have Brunson, so there's no reason for them to do it.
What about
we talked about
what about New Orleans,
Brooklyn?
Something centered on CJ and their picks and young guys. I could see New Orleans having the right level of desperation / knowing that they need to kind of adjust what they are, but also they have wings defensively. They have some big man versatility with Nance and Valanciunas and Zion and Ingram, where I think that's a little bit of a better situation than what Atlanta's been able to build. I don't know.
Yes, no question. No, I like that one better than any of my options.
It's tough.
Philly, if Harden goes and they panic,